Fitting out my Shonen Jump magazines part 1. Alright, so let's begin with this one. First, I'm going to take out that little promotional page thing that came in with the original magazine packaging. And then, of course, I'm going to flip through all the color pages and keep those. I will be keeping any color pages either unique to the magazine or to the manga, just because color pages tend to be very special. But for the regular black and white pages, I'm going to go ahead and just rip those out. As you guys can see here, I'm just ripping the pages out, trying to get as clean as a rip as I can. But yeah, for the most part, the black and white pages, I am going to be ripping those out unless it's unique to the magazine, like the summary page you guys can kind of see there about the manga and story so far. And then another case is the fan art. You guys can see here on the screen that the fan art pages, I'm going to be keeping those. Again, very unique to the magazine, so I'm keeping those. The only other exception I'm going to be making for black and white pages are going to be any sort of scenes that take up maybe 2 pages. Those, they tend to be, pretty cool looking, so those I'm going to keep. Another thing I'm going to be keeping are those little subscription cards that come with the magazine, because even though you're probably going to get 100 of those throughout the magazine, they are unique to the magazine where you only get those cards when you get the magazine, so those I'm keeping. Now for this particular chapter here, you can see that it was a bit lengthy, and so it was hard for me to sort of rip out, and so I sort of broke that into 2 sections and then ripped them out one by one. And then of course the edges, they were a bit rough there, so off camera I cleaned them up. But yeah, you guys can see I got another one of those subscription cards, so I went ahead and kept that. And then of course you can see here I encountered a colored page, so those I'm keeping. And then the standard black and white pages, I'm ripping those out as usual. But for the most part, this tends to be a pretty repetitive process. It's just me flipping through the various pages, making sure there's nothing special that I want to keep. And then once I figure out all the stuff that I do want to rip out, I just go ahead and rip them out. And then based on how much resistance there is, I can tell whether or not I need to break up the section into more smaller sections, or if I can just rip the whole thing out. One thing I do want to note about this ripping out method is that it of course has its own issues, but from all the methods I've tested so far, this seems to be the most efficient. But we are coming into the magazine, so what you'll see is that I'm going to get a little more of those color pages near the end and a special treat of a Yu-Gi-Oh card. But everything else, it seems like nothing else for me to rip out, so we are basically done with this magazine.